Hello, it's Amy. How's your Monday going? I am not sure what's going on with the lighting in this video, but it's kind of making it look like I have running eye makeup, which is weird, but don't know how to fix it. If anyone has any tips for me on lighting, let me know in the comments below. I can always use the help. Today's video is going to be a bit different from what I have been doing lately. I normally only film reviews of books that I've already read, but today I'm actually going to talk about some things that other people recommended to me that I haven't read yet. So, a bit of context. A couple weeks ago, I started this thread at my workplace asking friends and colleagues for suggestions for reading materials for October and for Halloween. And I got a lot of recommendations, so I thought, why not share it here with you guys? I originally was going to share the entire list, but there are 26 plus items on there, and I thought nobody wants to listen to that. I got bored just filming it, so why would anybody want to spend time watching me talk about it, especially when I don't even want to read all the items on the list? So I will go ahead and include the full list in the description box below if anyone's interested, but I'm only going to comment on the ones that stood out to me. So, first title on the list of recommendations from the thread was Let the Right One In by John Lindquist. I have never read this book, but I did see the Swedish movie adaptation of it. The book itself is translated from Swedish, I believe, but it was really big when I was an undergrad a million years ago. And I remember thinking it was very weird, but also haunting, and overall I liked it. So I'll just say, if you're too lazy to read the book, go ahead and watch the Swedish movie. Do not watch the American one. I heard it was bad. So I've never bothered trying to check it out or anything like that. But from what I can recall from the plot, it's about a little boy named Oscar, who has a miserable home life. Like, his dad's an alcoholic and he gets bullied at school. He befriends this little girl next door to him named Ellie, and she turns out to be a vampire who is hundreds of years old but is stuck in this little girl form forever because we know how vampire lore works. It's how old she was when she was turned. So they end up dealing with all these problems together and becoming super close. Ellie lives with this old man who is not her relative, and he's actually been in trouble before for possessing child pornography. So it's a bit odd and probably inappropriate that they live together, but by the end you kind of get why they were living together, and the reality is just really sad. That was not a very good summary, but it's been many years since I've seen this movie, guys, so please bear with me. The next book on my list is Watchers by Dean Koontz. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Anyways, this is an author whose name I see at the library all the time, but whose books I have never read. However, this book caught my interest. Let me go ahead and read the summary right off of Goodreads. From a top-secret government laboratory come two genetically altered life forms. One is a magnificent dog of astonishing intelligence, the other a hybrid monster of a brutally violent nature, and both are on the loose. This summary reminds me of the anime Fullmetal Alchemist, specifically that episode with the Chimera Dog creature. If you've never seen it, that was just a very sad episode. Very disturbing, never going to forget it. That image is branded in my brain forever. So just for that, I feel like I have to read this book, and I will let you know how it goes. Another coworker recommended The Outsider by Stephen King, both the book and the HBO series. I haven't read or seen either one, but apparently it's about an investigation into the murder of a little boy, and all the evidence seems to suggest that this school teacher, who's considered a pillar of the community, did it. So from this little blurb alone, this actually sounds to me more like one of those British murder mystery series I'm addicted to, like Vera, rather than what I'm used to reading from Stephen King. This might actually be a good thing because, to be honest, I'm not really a fan of Stephen King's writing, so perhaps this genre switch will end up working out for me. I'll let you know. Next is another Stephen King title called Thinner. And I've never even heard of this book, but I'm definitely going to read it simply because of the summary that I took off of the Stephen King fandom wiki. I'm going to read it to you because it is quite bizarre. The novel is about an obese lawyer who accidentally kills a gypsy, covers it up, and is cursed by the gypsy's father to rapidly lose weight. Fans applaud it as one of King's best novels. I am not sure what to think about that, but I'm now curious why people like it so much. It kind of makes me think of the movie The Fly. Maybe it's just the body horror aspect of it, which I normally avoid, but with this one I just feel like I have to know. So you know, just like with the rest of them, I'm going to get back to you on it once I'm done. So what's next? It's actually another Stephen King title, Night Shift. So these are all recommendations from different people, by the way. It's not just the same person recommending them. This particular coworker is convinced I will like this book better than Stephen King's other books because it's a book of short stories. I've mentioned before that I usually actually dislike short stories, but my coworker told me that this story involves a dad turning into human beer fungus, which is really disgusting. However, that convinced me that I have to check out this book. So I went ahead and checked out the ebook from the library, and soon I'll be able to tell you if this was able to change my mind about Stephen King after all. The next book is Fever Dream by Samanta Schweblin. I'm going to go more into detail about this book in an upcoming video because I actually read it in one sitting after it popped up in my recommendation thread. Samanta Schweblin is an Argentinian author, so this book is translated from Spanish. What I've noticed is horror novels and movies from other countries are very different from American horror, so this book was extremely unique to me. It's about a woman who's on her deathbed, and she's just remembering all these things that happened that led to her dying and just ending up here. And it's more eerie and disturbing cerebral horror. There's no jump scares or anything like that. It's a kind of like quiet, understated fear, and I really enjoyed it. Next book on the list is Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss. My friend says that this is a good book for people who have always wanted to see the movie Midsommar but can't stomach visual horror. I myself had never seen Midsommar before this, and actually I, for some reason, was under the impression that Midsommar was a coming-of-age indie film. I'm not even sure how I came to that conclusion. It's probably because I saw like the poster from far away, didn't read the words on it or anything. But anyways, I went and I watched the movie this weekend, and holy crap, it was nothing like what I pictured, but I liked it. It's about this girl named Danny and her boyfriend Christian, and I think they're grad students, and they've been having problems because they're just not on the same page about anything. She has a lot of baggage. Her sister committed suicide and murdered her parents. It was a murder-suicide. And Christian avoids confrontation, like he wants to break up with her, but he feels like he can't because, you know, her family just got murdered. And anyways, their Christian's Swedish friend Pelle invites the two of them, along with some other friends, to travel with him to his home commune in Sweden for a once-in-a-lifetime midsummer festival. So it sounds like a fun, relaxing vacation, like an educational trip, but once they get there, they find out that this so-called commune is more like a cult. There are weird rituals that everybody engages in, and disturbing customs that everybody practices, and there's a lot of chanting and singing that actually gets quite uncomfortable to watch, and then it all turns into what I call an artsy-fartsy summer slasher film. Like, that's the best way I can describe it, really. But it was unique, and even though I was very disturbed by the time I finished, I gave this movie a thumbs up on Prime, and if Ghost Wall, the book, ends up having similar vibes to Midsommar, I will probably enjoy it. The same friend who recommended Midsommar and Ghost Wall to me, whose judgment I happen to trust a lot, also recommended me a graphic novel called My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. I am extremely excited to read this book. I actually went and bought a copy because I could not find an e-copy of it in any of the library systems I'm part of, and I'm part of like 3 different library systems. The book is apparently set up like the graphic diary of a little girl named Karen Reyes, who's growing up in Chicago in the 60s, and Karen is trying to investigate the murder of her neighbor, who is this old lady who is also a Holocaust survivor. My friend says that it's very spooky and it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. So I'm just very intrigued, and I will definitely be talking about this once I'm done reading it. Next recommendation from the thread is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Now, everyone I know who's around my age grew up terrified of these stories, and especially like their cover illustrations. And I don't know if any of us remember who actually wrote it, because I certainly don't, but to this day, when I can no longer remember the details of the stories, since I read them when I was in like 2nd grade or something, I still remember how scared they made me. It's just that feeling that I've never been able to really replicate ever since with any of the horror novels I've read. So that author must have been doing something right, just saying. Next recommendation is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I'm not going to spend any time on this one because everybody probably already knows it, but I will say that I've never been a fan of Rebecca, but I'm going to be watching the Netflix movie when it comes out because Armie Hammer and Lily James are in it, and Lily James is one of my favorite actresses, so I'm going to see if she can get me to change my mind about Rebecca this time around. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Next up is a Spanish horror film whose name I'm going to butcher right now, Aterrorizados, or Terrified in English. It's about paranormal researchers investigating strange events in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires. Notice we've got a bit of an Argentinian theme going on here with all of our translated recommendations. I was actually told to watch this movie because I mentioned in the work thread that the Spanish horror film Rec is my favorite horror film of all time. And I'm also a fan of Guillermo del Toro and his film The Devil's Backbone especially. The summary for Aterrorizados actually makes me think of Ghostbusters, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything like Ghostbusters. I went and Googled it and the film poster looks fantastic and really scary, so I'm looking forward to watching it. Last book in the thread that I'm going to talk about is The Legacy by John Coyne, and once again I'm going to read the summary to you because it's quite strange. 6 beautiful people arrive for a weekend in the country. 6 guests of the unseen host who lies wasting away upstairs. 5 heirs to a mysterious legacy watch the body of the 6th float to the side of the pool. 4 claim the unspeakable power of the legacy while a red stain spreads across the ceiling. 3 realize that the legacy has come to claim them, while outside a dog dines in a thing that was once a man. And then there were 2. So right away I thought of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and also the board game Clue, which I am a huge fan of. But it seems like there's a more paranormal aspect to this, but if this summary is accurate and the book is anything like this, then I'm a sucker for this kind of story. So I have added this to my TBR list just so I can find out. Anyways, there's so many things to read and watch, and there's just not enough time with work and life and everything, but I think, in my opinion, that's better than having nothing to read and watch, so I'm going to go off and do that. But I did mention in my last upload that I got on a sort of upload schedule with videos coming every Sunday, something like that, and of course the Sunday right after I mentioned that, I didn't upload anything, because that's just what I do. I push deadlines. My excuse is that I was listening to the Magnus Archives, which is the best horror podcast ever. Like, if you're a podcast person, I highly recommend checking it out. Anyways, I was speeding through episodes, and next thing you know, it was 10 p.m. at night, and I hadn't filmed a thing. So I feel like laziness and procrastination kind of suck you down like quicksand sometimes, but I cannot let them win, because if I don't stick to an upload schedule, I just know I'm going to forget to do it, period. Like, I swear, I have no sense of time. So anyways, I'm going to say it right now so you can hold me to it. I am going to plan to upload on Sundays and then either Monday or Wednesday. So twice a week. I think that's pretty doable. This is a longer video, I think. Most of my videos are probably not going to be this long if I plan to stick to the twice a week schedule. But, you know, like I said, it helps for me to have a schedule to stick to so I can be held accountable for it. Anyways, have a good rest of your week, guys. I will see you again on Wednesday. Bye.